Odd news for Doctor Who fans. Stephen Moffat writes 13th Doctor short story. It's been a couple of years since Stephen Moffat wrote his final Doctor Who script as a showrunner before handing the reins over to Chris Chibnall. And it's fair to say that the middle and end of his run was greeted with mixed feelings. But now, following his predecessor Russell T Davies, he's written a short story set in the Who universe, focused on a doctor he never got to tackle, Jodie Whittaker's 13th, titled The Terror of the Umpty-Ums. It sees the Doctor going up against a typically weird alien menace and helping out a human boy. It's all part of a 15th anniversary celebration for the revived version of Who, which kicked off way back in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston's 9th Doctor. The Terror of the Umpty-Ums, the reeking flesh mass, was silent for a moment before twisting and stretching its upper, frontal skin lumps into a new configuration. Karpagnon's visual circuits processed and pattern matched the configuration within 2 nanoseconds. Apparently the human was smiling. Karpin Young considered for a moment and elected not to retaliate. "Did you hear me?" emitted the human from its flapped aperture. "Did you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?" The encoded sound stream was accompanied by a fresh flow of smells also emanating from the aperture. Karpagnon's sensory filter began processing the new odors, while his tactical monitor noted that they were unlikely to be directly significant to the human's communication. The light spray of moisture was similarly dismissed. "I'll be back tomorrow morning. Dr. Johnson and Dr. Ahmed will be here too. Do you remember them? No explicit threat detected," noted the tactical monitor, while the Strategic Oversight Junction added that an implied, non-explicit threat was still possible, but then the Strategic Oversight Junction was like that. "Beef and onions," advised the sensory filter. Karpin Young scanned the habitation box again, but there was no new information of tactical value. There was the little bed, which he had to pretend to sleep in, the window, which was barred, and the door, which was open at the moment. His scan ended on the human. Dr. Petrie proffered a context-activated memory bubble, who was sitting on the chair by the bed and clearly expecting a reply. Karpin Young sifted among the options presented by his various diplomatic interface modules and selected appropriately. "Yes," he said, "I received and understood your communication, and I remember Dr. Johnson and Dr. Ahmed. I shall destroy your world and all who breed here in fire and anguish. I hope you enjoyed your beef and onions. I'll be seeing you then," said Dr. Petrie, and rose to go. "I shall eviscerate you at the first opportunity," replied Karpin Young. "Good night." As Dr. Petrie moved to the door, the tactical monitor advised, "Escape must be initiated in 2.7 hours in full darkness." The Strategic Oversight Junction further advised, "All humans in the installation should be destroyed before departure." The human designated as Dr. Petrie is the priority target. The sensory filter noted, "The sweat gland emissions from the human designated as Dr. Petrie reveals significant adrenal content. This indicates Dr. Petrie has a fear reaction in the upper quartile, and a big bottom," added another voice. "If Karpin Young could have frowned, he would have. Where did that come from? He did a quick internal scan but couldn't source the unexpected data stream. I mean, you wouldn't expect it from the front, but then he turns round and boom, identify untagged data stream," demanded Karpin Young. "I mean, size of that thing. Could take your eye out. Identify untagged data stream," repeated Karpin Young. "No untagged data stream detected," replied the internal data relay monitor. Karpin Young considered for a moment. The additional stress of maintaining his holographic shell, currently projecting an image of a 12-year-old boy called David, could conceivably be causing glitches in the logic junctions. Perhaps it was no more than that. A temporary shutdown would fix the problem, and in any event it would be wise to refresh his systems before the escape. For appearance's sake, Karpin Young swung his legs round so that he could lie down on the bed and switched his hologram eyes to the closed position. As he lay there, he listened to his internal relays shutting down one by one, tactical monitor going offline, strategic oversight junction going offline, sensory filter entering sleep mode, internal delay on alert mode only. For a moment there was only the ticking darkness. "End night fam." The Karpin Young awoke. 2.7 hours had passed according to his chrono register. He swiveled his head to look at the window and confirmed that darkness had fallen, then got up from the bed and checked his hologram status in the mirror. The shell was holding. He waited a moment, allowing his systems to come online. As usual, the tactical monitor was first. Recommendation: human casualties to be avoided during escape. Karpin Young notices his hologram shell was frowning in the mirror, which was odd because he didn't know it could do that. Sorry, could you repeat your last recommendation? Human casualties to be avoided during escape, repeated the tactical monitor. In the mirror, the hologram shell was looking positively bewildered, which was definitely a new feature. Why? Asked Karpin Young. New protocol, replied the tactical monitor. Cruelty and cowardice to be avoided. Destruction of humans within this installation now designated as cruel and cowardly. What new protocol? Demanded Karpin Young. Oops, sorry, that was probably me. It was the voice again, the untagged data stream. But where was it coming from? I got bored. You see, the voice continued, thought I'd do a bit of housekeeping, long as I'm here. Love a bit of rewiring, and I get bored when I'm asleep. I can't be doing with all that sleeping, there's too many planets. What if you sleep and miss a whole planet? Nightmare. Yeah, who are you? Demanded Karpin Young. Just a friend, who wants to help. We're doing an escape, right? I'm top at escaping, I require no assistance, said Karpin Young. Strategic Oversight Junction, please run a diagnostic on the tactical monitor. There seems to be some kind of interference. Karpin Young waited, but there was no response. Strategic Oversight Junction, please run a diagnostic on the tactical. Can't we at least discuss this? Asked the Strategic Oversight Junction, with a new tone in the digital overlay that could only be described as cross. I mean, why has it always got to be what you say? What if anyone else has an opinion? Did you ever think about that? Oh dear, said the voice, my influence, I'm afraid. You see, I do like a flat management structure. Always run one myself from top to bottom. Obviously I have to be top. No offense to anyone else, it's just a thing. You are interfering with my systems. Tell you what, I'll just switch them off, shall I? Then we can get on with escaping. There was a soft clicking as Karpagnon's internal systems started shutting down. Who are you? He demanded. Shouldn't we be getting on with it, the escaping? Time to start sneaking downstairs, I think. Who are you and what are you doing in my head? Well, who are you and what are you doing in this place? Karpin Young was about to refuse to answer the question, when, to his surprise, he found himself answering the question. I am Karpin Young, a Death Board 400, warrior class. I was forged in the weapon groves of Villengard, and I am on a surveillance mission on 21st century Earth, in a children's home. The details of my assignment are forbidden knowledge. Well, I better not ask you about it in case you start telling me everything for no particular reason. I am not so compliant, snarled Karpin Young. But he couldn't help noticing he had left the room and was now sneaking down the stairs, just as the voice had wanted him to. Death Board 400, she was saying. Did they have 399 before you? That didn't work out. It's not a reassuring number, is it? Who are you? He asked. Oh, Karpin Young, you know who I am. You've known all along. Tell me. I'm the doctor. Karpin Young came to a halt 4 steps from the foot of the stairs. Had he been programmed for any kind of shock, he would have been experiencing it now. The doctor. Ooh, look at your memory banks lighting up. Heard of me then? Heard of her? The Kafarak Gatri, replied Karpin Young. The oncoming storm, the bringer of darkness, the imp of the Pandorica. The final victor of the Time War, a few of my hits. I'm glad you've been paying attention. You are known to many as the greatest warrior in the universe. I'm not a warrior, but have it your way. How can you be in my mind? What if I were to tell you, I'm talking to you through an earpiece? Karpin Young rapidly processed this intelligence. To locate the earpiece. How could my defenses be breached and an earpiece applied? Touch the earpiece, and this is earpiece rewire my internal logic relay. I do not take still orders. The wrong question. Karpin Young, though he couldn't help noticing he lowered his hand. Why would a Death Board 400 need your help? He protested, in a slightly higher register than he really intended. Because you want to get out of here, replied the doctor. Which is fine by me, because I don't want a Death Board 400 wandering around a children's home. The front door is 20 feet in front of you. Shall we get going? First I must destroy this installation, and all humans within it. It's not an installation, it's a children's home. First I must destroy this children's home and all the humans within it. Well, that seems a bit mean to me, but okay. Better go to the kitchen. Yeah, why the kitchen? It's where they keep all the Bernie stuff. You know where the kitchen is, don't you, Karpin Young? Of course. Karpin Young descended the rest of the stairs and headed through the shadowed, silent corridors to the kitchen. Why are you so afraid of humans? Asked the doctor. I do not fear humans. I despise them. Oh, come on, I'm sitting in your ear, I can see your whole brain. Of course you fear them. I hate all humanity. Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? You hate them. Hate is just fear out loud. I know nothing of fear, said Karpin Young, as he entered the deserted kitchen. Well, I know everything. I'd have to, me. What with the Daleks, and the Cybermen, and the Weeping Angels, these creatures are known to me. Of course they are, everyone's scared of them. And the Sontarans and the Slitheen. And of course, the Ums. Karpin Young scanned his data banks twice. The Ums, oh, they're the worst. Nothing scares me like the Ums. They are unknown to me. Oh, if you know about me, you know about the Ums. But never mind that now. We're in the kitchen. What are we actually going to do? Karpin stood in the middle of the large, dark kitchen and found himself reluctant to do anything at all. Finally, he said, this house must burn. Oh, do you think so? Isn't that a bit much? This house must burn, he insisted, louder this time. All the people will burn too. That's a bit unfair. There's a lot of kids here, you know, I care nothing for humanity. This house will burn, but the thing is, you don't really want to do that, do you, Karpin Young? Karpin Young scanned his function drives. It was true, he was detecting, what was that? Reluctance. Had this strange, prattling woman, who was also the most dangerous warrior in the universe, interfered with his base programming? Do you want to know why you're reluctant, Karpin? I am not reluctant, he lied. Strategy. That's all. Proper military strategy. I mean, you're a Death Board 400 on an undercover mission on planet Earth. Burning this house down will only draw attention to you, Karpin Young considered. Correct, he declared, so. Here's a compromise. Instead of burning the house down, why don't we turn the heating up really high? The heating? Yeah. That'll show 'em. They'll be sweating all night, the human fools. Oh, those sheets will do dripping, but I require vengeance, protested Karpin Young. Vengeance isn't turning the heating up. But he couldn't help noticing he'd already twisted the heating control dial right up to maximum. Well done, Karpin Young. They'll know better than to mess with you in future. Now let's get out of here and leave these puny humans to get uncomfortably hot. No, said Karpin Young. Oh, come on. This escape is taking forever. I mean, I like to draw them out a bit, but this is ridiculous. First I must destroy the human known as Dr. Petrie. Oh, okay. If we must, we must. Let's pop along and destroy Dr. Petrie then. Where would we find him this time of night? As usual, Dr. Petrie had been working late in his office. When Karpin Young slipped silently through the door, maximum stealth mode, he saw Petrie sprawled in his chair, with his head hanging over the back. He was snoring so heavily it almost seemed to rattle the teacup on his desk. Under the teacup, Karpin Young noticed a scatter of papers, mostly with photographs pinned to them. The photographs were all of David Carpagnon's hologram disguise. Well then, what shall we do with him? Asked the doctor. Melt him? Miniaturize him? Random phase his atomic structure? I don't really know how to do that last one, but it sounds cool. Again, Karpin Young found himself reluctant to act. What was wrong with him? He hated Dr. Petrie more than any other living thing, and he hated quite a lot of living things. Why do you hate him, Karpin Young? Karpin Young hesitated. He humiliated me. Oh, I don't think he meant to. He was trying to help. Remember, he thinks you're a little boy called David with a dissociative personality disorder. Not a Death Board 400 from the weapon groves of Villengard. David is a fiction. Oh, yeah, of course he is. I know that, but you see, you put so much detail into the disguise. Abandoned by his parents, all those people being so cruel to him. I don't think Dr. Petrie was humiliating you, I think he was trying to help. He just didn't know you were a Death Board. You must get that a lot, no matter. I will not be pitied, I will have my vengeance. He will be destroyed, fair enough. Your call. On you go, then melt away. But once again Karpin Young found himself strangely reluctant to act, and Dr. Petrie just kept on snoring, louder and louder. You know what the problem is, said the doctor at last. It's strategy again. If you destroy Dr. Petrie, it will draw attention to you. You can't blow your cover like that. So what we need is another clever compromise. What do you suggest? Well, instead of boring old destroying him, why don't we do the one thing human beings really can't stand? Why don't you go with me on this? Draw a mustache on him. Drawing a mustache is not proper vengeance, said the Death Board 400 as it reached for a marker pen. At last the front door stood in front him, unguarded, noted Karpin Young, with grim satisfaction. Freedom was now only inches away. What are you waiting for? Said the doctor in his ear. Karpin reached for the door handle. Hesitated. Don't worry, it's quiet out there, said the doctor. No Cybermen or Daleks, not even a trace of an Karpin Young steeled himself and opened the door. The cold air filled his lungs. The wind rushed in the trees, and distantly there was the sound of traffic. The sky was packed with clouds, but the moon peeked through. Lungs, said the doctor. What do you mean lungs? Karpin Young took another breath. So cold. He found himself shivering. How can you have lungs if you're a Death Board 400? Death Boards don't have lungs. A cat was slinking along a wall. It glanced at Karpin Young and flicked out a sight. The traffic sighed, and a train rattled, and the wind stirred in his hair. The doctor's voice was gentler now. Close the door, David. You'll catch your death. No, roared the mind of Karpin Young. No, this shall not be. He strode out into the night. The concrete was freezing on his bare feet and the wind tugged at his pajamas. He stumbled to a halt, and found himself rooted to the spot. He wasn't programmed for terror, but somehow he was feeling it now. Come on, David, said the doctor. You understand now, don't you? I know you do. Cease your words of lies, cried Karpin Young. If you're tired of my words, David, why don't you take out the earpiece? David reached to his ear. Then he tried the other ear. There is no earpiece, more to the point, there are ears. Why would a Death Board have ears, David? A Death Board with ears and lungs. What kind of cyborg is that? But I hear your voice. I'm not in your ear, David. I'm in your head. And you're not a Death Board. You are a little boy called David Karpin Young, and it is way past your bedtime. This is not true. You are using your Time Lord powers to disable and corrupt my data systems. No, I'm not. And I couldn't if I wanted to. Do you know why I couldn't, David? The doctor is known to have telepathic skills beyond that of ordinary mortals. Who told you that? How do you know so much about me? Where did you learn it all from? Karpin Young broke off, as a terrible truth unfolded in his mind. It couldn't be true. It simply couldn't. And yet as he stood there in the cold and the dark he saw that it was as true as anything ever could be. He took another breath of the freezing air and said the words out loud. I watched you on television. Yeah. Great show, isn't it? Doctor Who, that's the one. That's me. But I'm not allowed to call myself that on screen. I don't know why. It's a brilliant name. You're not real. Well, not in the limited sense of real, no. But I kept you straight tonight, didn't I? I'm real enough for that. You're a character in a TV show. Yes, that's right, I am. But really, I'd like to direct. David stood in silence. He barely felt the cold now. Do you like the music, by the way? Always scares me. I don't understand. Well, it's a scary noise, isn't it? I always get wound up when I know I'm about to hear it. That's why I start shouting towards the end of episodes. But how can you be in my head? I go where there are monsters to fight. We've been fighting monsters tonight, you and me. You see, that's the story of the music. I always think. The that's the noise of the monsters. But then it goes woo-hoo. I think the woo-hoo is me riding to the rescue. You can't rescue anyone. You're just a story. We're all stories in the end. But do you know what a story is, David? It's an idea. And do you know what an idea is? It's a thought so big and so clever it can outlive you. It can fly out of your head, and into other people's. Like I'm in your head, right now. Keeping you right. Never cruel, never cowardly. Always the doctor, David sighed. He was starting to feel the cold again. He looked back at the house, which suddenly looked so warm. "It won't be easy," said the doctor. "None of it will be easy, ever. But I'll always be there." David walked back into the house, went up the stairs, and got into bed. A few hours later David woke up and stared at the ceiling for a while, thinking about things. "I get very scared sometimes," he said. "Woo-hoo," said the doctor. Thank you for watching DragonFLIX News, and please remember to try our movie channel at dragonflix.biz.
Budget Studios brings you a new concept in movie watching on the small screen, containing some of the world's most interesting films by cinema's biggest talent, which will be shown and added to on a monthly basis.